Okay,
Well,
so welcome.
Sandra Kensen, what a pleasure to introduce you this morning. I think I've known you for almost 30 years now. Admired your work, enjoyed you as a colleague, and I hope to say friend. It's really good to have you here. Sandra, by the way, is sort of vast history, going through degrees at University of Amsterdam, Erasmus University in Rotterdam, then up to Roskilde, and then to Tilburg, and so on, and now serves as an organizational consultant, a coach, a teacher. And what I have found especially compelling about her work, and I think it's extremely important, particularly today, is the work in the area of governance, trying to work through the challenges to democracy, which are enormous today. What are the alternatives? What could we do to alter, to transform the nature of democracy, the ways in which we work? That kind of work is echoed now throughout the world. Sandra has been a sort of a leading light in trying to work through these issues. So Sandra, I welcome you again.
Thank you very much, and for these very kind words. I'm happy that this meeting is recorded, so I can listen to it over and over again. That's good for my self-esteem. So thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. I'm a bit excited about this because I'm a reflective practitioner these days. So I used to be an assistant professor, and then I was used to speak English, well, all the time, I would say. But that's not the case anymore. So I hope that I'm clear in what I want to what I want to communicate across. But if you can't follow what I'm trying to say, then please write a note in the chat. And then Luc Schoenmakers, because it also sounds as look over there. But Luc Schoenmakers will then point out to me, and I will give it another try. Okay. So yes, Sandra Kensen. I live in Tilburg in the south of the Netherlands. And I am especially working with local governments. So I changed my scientific work for being part of the action. I wanted to be part of the action. And this job I have now gives me that opportunity. And today I want to talk to you about democracy and what worries me about democracy, but also what makes me very proud, because we are in the company of social constructionism, and we have several methods in order to make democracy work, well, I would say in the best possible way. And on the other hand, there are all kinds of dangers, because also democracy is part of giving meaning of the debate, of giving other meanings than others. So, and that gives a number of worries to me. And well, I will want to go into that. I will ask Alex shortly to show us only 2 slides, so that you know what are we going to talk about and what will be the order of subjects we will discuss in this 1.5 hour max we've got. But before I do that, I want to share with you that I'm also really interested in your experiences, your thoughts. So we will have some interaction every now and then. So Ken suggested that I should also tell you about my experiences and my knowledge and my worries and my thoughts and my feelings, but that we can also have time to hear from you. Okay? Alex, will you show us the 2 slides? There are only 2 slides for today. Yes.
Yes, do you see the first one?
Yes, the first one. So I The title for this webinar is Defining Moments of Democracy. And of course, I have a very specific view of what when a moment of democracy is a defining moment. And I want to share that with you, and then we can discuss it, of course. But for me, the most important thing is that the trust between government and their communities is restored. I don't have to tell you about everything that is going on in the world. It's also happening in the Netherlands. So, for instance, we had a far-right party in the government, in the national government. Yeah, that makes life for someone who is so dedicated to a democracy in which we are all equal, in which everyone counts, where everyone can influence what's going on, what's important to them. That's really being questioned and under pressure. But today I would like to explore with you ideas about democracy. I want to tell you shortly why I care so much, why this is what I do every day, all day, and why that is. I know we are in the company of social constructionists, and sometimes I have the idea that power, well, that some people want to wish it away. And I think that's wishful thinking. So I think, well, it's there, let's use it and discuss with each other, what shall we use it for? Then there are some worries. I already explained that to you, and I will, of course, go into that. But I also am very proud of some of the processes I joined and in which I could intervene and which I could really, make the defining moments of democracy, I would say. I will tell you more about it. And well, I think we always need to keep our hopes up, and that's also part of a main perspective I use to work with democracy, and that is appreciative inquiry. And one of the basic assumptions of appreciative inquiry for me is the idea we can always do better. So that gives me hope. So this is the schedule for our talk today and what we will discuss. Okay. Well, I already said a lot, and it would really help me if 3 to 5 people would like to tell us, well, what made you sign in for this webinar? What interests you in this seminar? And when you have the floor, please also tell us where you're from. And just raise your hand. I think that's the easiest way. And I think we have a digital hand, Alex.
Yes, we do.
And where does everyone know where to find that?
It's at the bottom of the screen. And there is a react button.
Okay, so does someone want to share with us? Yeah, Cameron.
Hi there. Well, I am just moved to California, where I'm hoping to go to university next year to get a master's in education and to enter the public school system. I studied social work in UCD in Dublin, and I also dropped out of an Erasmus exchange year at the VU in Amsterdam.
Okay.
So I had some time that I spent in the Netherlands as well. So it's great to hear. It's great to hear from you. And I've been curious about the Taos Institute since finding out about it somehow. I forget, I came across it and I've just been following it. And I'm very much looking forward to our discussion because democracy is of great concern to me at the moment as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
what is your biggest concern?
Well, just jotting some notes down from what you were saying, I am concerned about, yes, like the rise of right wing. I feel like social media in general is just being used in this way that's creating people. I don't, yeah, it's hard to say, but I'm
Yeah, that's already two
you kind of
points.
hear what I'm getting at, maybe.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Svea, do I pronounce your name right? Van der Hoorn?
Yeah, you do. Thank you. I'm in Cape Town. I'm in South Africa. Social construction and co-creation is what I eat for breakfast, lunch, and supper, breathe, etc. So that's not unfamiliar. But what drew me was I like the word moments because
Great.
having lived in South Africa in the 80s and the 90s, I felt that I was not in a moment with democracy. It was an extensive, ongoing conversation, some very fractious, some very inspiring. And when I saw the event and the description, I thought, oh, at last, there are some words being given to something that I'm experiencing as if I'm returning to the late 80s in South Africa. And I thought, and I do think this often, is like, we have such a capacity to learn and grow together. How is it possible that we seem to be unable to maintain what we, do we have to always go in spirals as human beings, etc.? So I think that I have a lot of philosophical questions that I don't expect answers to. So I was very encouraged and inspired by what I read about the topic and the way that you were framing it.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, good to hear. Thank you. Mark,
Hello. Chiji, hello, from England, hello. I'm a systemic therapist working in the southeast of England. I think it was actually questions bringing into, I'm not familiar with your ideas. I'm really interested in the title and I will research your work. And I'm interested as you're making references to what's happening in the Netherlands, the rest of the Europe. I guess I'm thinking about democracy and how we've seen a trend for people who don't use their democratic vote, and that, but in some respects that they may express an opinion or protest in other ways. And I, in view of my fear as well around processes that will want to get rid of democracy coming into place. And I guess it's that partly frustration with something that was born out of, and I'm thinking of one of your quotes. It reminds me of a British politician called Tony Benn, who was from the leftist centre politics in England, who talked about democracy being the greatest sense of power in terms of when you're not happy with something, you can vote them out. And that's an essence to something. But at the same time, people not engaging or seeming to engage a part of that process. And as a social constructionist, I'm just thinking about that, just generally about how we engage people.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I will go into that.
And Paloma has her hand raised as well.
Who? I didn't see that.
Paloma? You want to go ahead?
Yeah, now I see you.
Brown hand, so maybe it blends in.
Oh, yeah.
So hi, I'm Paloma Torres Davila. I'm in Puerto Rico in the Caribbean, and I've been a member of Taos for quite some time now, so it's great to see a lot of you I haven't seen in a while. And it resonates, your story resonates a lot with me. In very recent years, like in the past 2 or 3 years, I've transitioned moving out from academia because I was frustrated with the speed things are moving in academia versus the changes that we see have to be done in Puerto Rico. We've been facing like massive crisis after crisis since 2008, but they've really been magnified since 2017, the hurricanes. And I moved to a municipal innovation lab. I moved to a political NGO, and I'm leading a municipal innovation lab. It's been quite like walking uphill with a heavy backpack on my back, because it's basically trying to generate a change of narratives. And one of my team members is here with me, a change of narrative within, very dominant, strong narratives of crisis, of scarcity, of mistrust in government. And so this was a fresh of breath air when I saw this topic coming up. And I'm just here. To me, the keyword was defining moments, because it's like something actionable, that we're moving beyond ideology.
Yeah.
And we're learning a lot as we do right now. We have no answers. We have no concrete directions on where we're heading, but the emergence of it is also inspiring to me. And I just wanted to learn what things were happening elsewhere, and, situations where we're all sharing at the same time in different contexts.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing this.
And Sandra, there was a comment in the app.
Uh-huh.
It's from Nicole Baker. Perhaps Nicole Baker can tell it to us. Nicole, can you?
Where is she?
Yeah.
Oh, she's unable to unmute, so she cannot tell it.
Oh, she cannot tell it. Well, I can read her message.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for today's conversation. I am located in Florida. I studied social construction in my master's. Now, practicing futures foresight and always including how language shapes our identity. I am concerned regarding democracy for several reasons. Many are leaning into the fear and manipulation, losing hope and doubling down to a narrowed nostalgia. I'm also concerned by the meme culture of the far right indoctrinating a rising generation.
Yes, yes. Thank you. You hear me sigh, because there are many worries about democracy, and it's also very easy. I will talk a little bit about democracy now and how I view democracy. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat, because I want to tell you a little bit about my experiences and my views. So the first thing is that I think we also need, of course, we have worries. And I also thought that, in the local democracy and in the different conversations I have in communities, there are a lot of worries about so many topics. And it's, for us, I think, from social constructionism, the challenge to go into these worries and take them seriously, and always look for possibilities and what can we do about it, what do we need to find out, how can we look at it also, who can help us further, so that there is progress and that we come further with each other, instead of only staying worried and becoming angry that things are not going too fast. But of course, we know very well that we need to relate to one another for this, in order to really take time to understand the worries and to go beyond the worries. And that's what I do every day. And also to make the relationship between local governments and their communities really relational. And that's, of course, very difficult, because Cameron already talked about social media and online life we've got. Sometimes it's a blessing, like today, but sometimes it's not. And that makes it more difficult to understand each other as government and communities, to understand each other as citizens among each other. and make time to really stand still. And I think that's the big challenge. And well, there are many forces that try to keep us from taking the time to really understand each other. And still, I think we need to keep on doing it, keep on organizing it in order for democracy to work. So what do I view with democracy? I see a formal democracy. We all know about that. So that's the government and the council or the Senate or the chamber or the House of Lords, but you understand. And of course, there are the public officials. So the government, the council, and the public officials, they are for me the formal side of democracy. And then we have the elections. I think it was Mark who noticed that. And elections are very important. And in these times, they are relative, because we need to give our votes to only one party. In the Netherlands, we have many parties, so that's different from the United States. But in the Netherlands, we have many parties. You give your vote to one party. And, well, if there was another topic, then I would probably want to vote for another party. And with a third topic, I would like to vote for still another party. So it's very hard to give my vote to one party for 4 years. And therefore, it's so important that besides formal democracy, we also have extra formal democracy. And that is the democracy between elections, I would like to say. And, well, these two, of course, have a relationship to one another, but they cannot do without, and they cannot do without each other. And I think for us, from a social constructionist point of view, I think the extra formal democracy is in particular interesting, and where we can also have our influence and put our power to practice. And for me, democracy is the sense that everyone who wants to be part of a conversation, a dialogue, a process in which there is a renewal or a decision is being prepared or a decision is being implemented, that you can be part of that process if you want to. And there are some conditions that are needed, and I will go into that later on. Quite a number of conditions, so to say, and that makes it also very hard work. Democracy is not for lazy people, that's for sure. It's really hard work to make it work, to make it happen. And there are so many people needed to make it work. So I'm happy also with today and with all the interest in this topic. Well, a little personal note. Why do I care so much that everyone who wants to be part of a, I would say, political process or a policy process, and that they can be part of it? Why do I care so much? Well, the source of this is from my childhood. I come from a big family. I think it's big. Maybe there are even bigger families, but I thought my family was rather big. I have 7 sisters and brothers. And I am number 8, so I'm the youngest. And my sisters and brothers, they work in construction and in care. And I so much want them, if they have some really good ideas, or I should say when they have good ideas for their environment or for their neighborhood or for culture in their communities, that they would know how to get in contact with the local government, and that they would know how to come from an initiative or an idea to results with many people. And I saw that they didn't know how to do that. I saw local governments that said, oh, good idea, but it doesn't fit our policy, it doesn't fit our procedures. And then they felt powerless. And yeah, that made such an impact on me, this feeling of powerlessness and what it entails to people, that, yeah, this is my mission for life. So this is what I do. I try to make local governments invite people to come with their ideas, their initiatives, and to be open to them and to help them to make, to get results together with others. Well, and then about power. Well, who is involved in democracy, in government? There's always power present. And with power, I mean, there are always people who have more influence than others. There are always people who can say, well, you can be part of this group and you cannot. Or this is what we are going to talk about, and your topics we don't find relevant. Power is also saying, well, this is how we're going to do it. And that there are enough people who accept that. Because, of course, from social constructionist point of view, we always see power in a relational manner. So there are always people who accept it or who vote for it. There were people who voted for Trump. There were people who voted for Wilders. That's the leader in the Netherlands. Also in city councils, I've seen it from very close. I was in the same room, how one man got all the attention. And everyone tried to understand him. And he not one time asked, but what do you mean? And it was accepted also by the moderator. I wasn't the moderator, otherwise I would not have accepted that. So that's also something I want to share with you. Well, what can we, it's already part of, well, how to keep our hopes up. So this is a little preview, but also I think we need to be more strict and be more tough about the rules of the game. How do we organize our dialogue together? And what is good behavior, and what do we say, well, this is not appropriate behavior. Please try it another time. Ask a question, be interested, let someone else talk for now. And sometimes I think, well, can already remember that I'm in the business for, well, what is it? More than 30 years. And I think in the beginning, we thought it more difficult to set some norms. And that we thought, well, we are here all together and we're all nice and everyone should have the room. And of course, but in these days, manners are also up for discussion. And some people forget about manners. They think it's good manners to shout or be aggressive or take all the time. And I think, well, we need to be a little tough about it when we are in the position to be a little tough. So I always love to be the moderator of a conversation, because then I can invite people who are a little bit more quiet to also bring in something, and sometimes also say, well, now you made your point. We heard it once. We all heard it. You don't need to repeat it. And now we are going to listen to someone else. And of course, some people think it's too tough. I don't care, because I need to defend. Yeah, I don't think I pronounce it well. To defend. Do I say it right? I have to protect it. I have to protect, I would say, the rules of democracy. Because then I think we get these defining moments of democracy when there is exchange of ideas, when everyone is heard, when we go in a flow together and we take the different steps together, that we go from the first initiative to the results, and that we use all our creativity that's in the group to make the progress and to come where we want to come, and to make our future together, and to say, yes, this is what we want to do, and who is going to do what to make it even brighter or more sustainable, or invite even other people. So this is already a little show of how I use my power. Because when I'm the moderator, I just use my power to make the rules of the game. And if people don't like it, I'm also not afraid to say, well, this is how we do it here. If you don't like it, that's okay. You're free to stay or you're free to go. You can choose, but make a choice. Because we want to go further with our conversation. Well, perhaps there are questions, Luke, that, because I already said quite a few things.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra. It's very inspiring to listen to your passion also to do your work, and you can really sense that you really want to have this voice of everyone in the room. So that's very helpful, very good, thank you. So there were some things in the chat box. Let me see. What is democracy without relational responsibility to others? One of the questions.
Yeah,
Then
well, that's an easy question. I think it's nothing. So democracy without feeling the responsibility for others, there's nothing, because I think one of you also mentioned that, was it Cameron, who said that self-interest in the extreme or most radical form, that you only think of yourself. Yeah, then that's like anti-democracy, because in a democracy we are also a community, and it's also dealing with the differences among each other. And that we can deal with these differences, and that we can deal with the tension. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. But we need to take each other into account. Yeah.
I think the good news, yes, I think the good news you are talking about is that it's not easy, but I always make the sentence a little bit longer. Then I say, but it's possible.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about. So here's another question, Sandra. It's about, in your experience, what really works for inviting people to make democracy locally.
Okay, I will. Okay, that's already part of what makes me proud.
Okay, that will come then. Well, we keep this question in mind then, so that's no problem. Let's see if there's another one. How can we move forward? It's from Ken. How can we move forward after all the positions have been heard? So you were talking about all these voices in the room, and everyone can, with respect and the things you talked about, express their perspectives, and then.
Yeah. Well, well, I work with appreciative inquiry, but I translated it for a political context. Well, and a context of power. And therefore, in the Netherlands, I call it appreciative renewal. or innovation, you could also say it. But I like the word renewal because it's appreciative renewal. Because with appreciative inquiry or renewal, you start with everything that's already there and that's good and that we value and that we like, and all the people who are already know a lot about it, who are already involved in it. And then at a certain moment you say, okay, we did enough exploration for now. Let's take another step and let's answer a question together. And then I raise a new question. And then the question is, well, if we remind each other of all the good things we already got, and we make this bigger, or we make sure it will happen more often, or we invite new people or more people, and what may happen? And this is, of course, the phase of now I only have the Dutch words in mind, but it's a vision of the future. Well, what can happen? What is possible? Where can we work towards to? And of course, it's a process we are in together. But if the conditions are so that people would like to explore and are interested in each other, then they also want to long for a new future and to make things even better. And when we have this image of the future, then I raise another question. And it is, well, if this is really what we want to work towards to, what do we need to do? And how do we need to do it? And which procedures and which people and which money in order to get there? So this is really facilitating the process in such a way that the different steps can be taken. Because in the end, I really want results. I want something that we can be proud of and that we can celebrate and that we all had a contribution to, and that we can say, yes, we made this together. Yes, this is why we all were engaged in this process.
That's great.
So I want something to celebrate.
Yeah, thank you. That's really inspiring. I see 3 hands. I don't know if you want to have these questions of our participants. Yes.
Yes, and then I will start talking about what worries me. But
that's
Shanti?
Great. So yes, okay. Shanti, you can unmute. I don't know if it's possible, Alex, for unmuting.
Mute yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
A moment. But since democracy, as Sandra points out, is about good processes and good arguments, but fundamentally about good manners, I should point out that Norma and Paul had their hands up before I did.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whether if it's all right by them, I'll continue and I will try to be brief. Some fragmented thoughts, because this is a conversation, as I feel it, on the edge. We are feeling our way forward, going beyond accepted debates, accepted realities. So that's why these thoughts are so very fragmented. I'll just emphasize a few things. I signed up for your webinar, Sandra. I like to attend Taos events whenever I can. I liked the fact that you were speaking at a Taos forum, because I thought it was important that other wider experiences should be heard, especially of smaller societies and countries like the Netherlands, where I have lived for half of my life, the first half being in India. And over the 30 or so years that I have been here, there are worrying developments, but the Netherlands still has a fairly strong social fabric, as I observe. I may say that way. And I think a different kind of politics, it is a sort of European politics, a politics of coalition, very different from the Anglo-American systems of binary oppositions between two contending parties to be won by the first past the post. And I also felt it was important to listen to different speakers speaking different kinds of Englishes, English being the global language for all of us. Once again, we shouldn't feel humbled by the fact that we don't speak the dominant, which happens to be the Anglo-American English, the English of the so-called native speakers. So I don't think anyone should be apologetic for the English that they speak. I was happy to see Cameron here because this is very much a generational discussion. And I'm glad that Taos is attracting other younger generations as well. But anyway, let me just say that these are very uncertain times, very unnerving times. These uncertainties were always there, but they were under the carpet. Suddenly, in the last few years, and especially this year, the carpet has heaved and all sorts of things are coming forward. You said that democracy means hard work for everyone. For a long time, we thought democracy could be delegated to our politicians. We vote them in every 3, 4, 5 years as the system is in our country, and then we let them get on with it. It's a sort of role that has been forced onto children, politicians playing the so-called adults. So these uncertain times are probably important and I think refreshing times and a step forward. Instead of being alarmed, what is happening to the world order? Why are not major powers listening to the UN? Why can things happen in various parts of the world that we never imagined could happen and be gotten away with impunity? Why isn't anyone intervening? I think this is an important glimpse of reality for us. This is the way things are. Things have to change. We have to take responsibility. We can't be the two quote-unquote adults, the politicians, but do let me stop. I've gone on longer than I planned to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Shanti. Yeah.
Norma?
Yeah.
Oh.
Make it that my voice is, can people hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
That's good. So I was interested in your saying that what you do every day kind of thing, it's your job, is you make local government invite people to come up with ideas. How do you do that? Do you locate people in the local government that you think will be willing to invite people? How do you find these people in local government? How do you suggest that they invite people? And then you said they come up with ideas and initiatives and they get results. But I'm interested in even just one example of how local government has invited people to offer ideas and initiatives and what kind of results emerged from that process. Because so far, I'm just hearing you talking about results and things happen, but can you give an example?
Yeah, I can give an example. Well, this is already what makes me proud. I must say that. I'm in the position that I am hired by mayors and aldermen of local governments. So these are the local governments. And of course, they want to have results for their communities. and they asked me to facilitate the process. And so they hire me as a consultant. And so I am, legitimated. It's legitimate for me to question their initiative. And I can talk to them and ask them many questions in order to find, well, what's your initiative? What are the values that you find so important that you want to plea for them? And that you say, yes, this is so important, I stick to them, and this is where I stand for. For me, that's politics. When you stand for something that you value highly and that you say, yes, I will go all the way. But I only want their talks to be at the level of values. And of course, this is also inspired by appreciative inquiry, because it starts with what we value. And then I say, well, this is what you value most. I can give a concrete example, otherwise it stays so abstract. But I want to say, I also help the mayor to invite people. So I always say, well, what is the question you end your talk with? What are you going to ask people in the community? What do you ask them for? And you can already see my hands, but it's always a question that invite others to join the mayor in his or her process. So a small example is, there was this old monumental government house, and it was empty for 15 years. And when it's a monumental monument, when it's a monument and it's empty and it's from the local government, it's very expensive because it needs to be maintained and it's not used. So that's bad policy, I would say. And the mayor said, I want a new process. Sandra, can you help me? And I said, yes, I can. And he said, we have half a year, because within half a year, I need to be in front of the city council and I want to make my plea for what are we going to do with this monument. And I said, half a year, that's fine. We'll do it. So I first asked him, well, what do you really find important? What do you value about this monument and about this neighborhood? And I asked him questions for 1 hour. And at the end of the conversation, we had one line. So it's not so easy to make a good initiative. But we had one line, and this one line we used in all the different meetings I organized next. And the line was, because it's important that he stood for it and said, yes, this is where I stand for. I find it important that we find a new future for this building and that we take into account the beauty of the area and also the quietness of the area. But I also find it very important that there are people who want to come to this building, because there are a number of entrepreneurs just behind this building and they need to flourish too. So it was the quality of the area, the beauty of the area, the quietness of the area, but it should also attract some people, because the local entrepreneurs are important too. And then I said, okay. And then he asked the whole community, and we also, in answer to your question, Norma, we communicated the invitation in all possible ways. So by mouth, by newsletters, the relationships we had already in the community, in the local newspaper, every way we could think of. And we invited everyone to join at least 2 meetings and perhaps 4 meetings. And well, in the first, and there were 4 meetings because I want results. So the first meeting was to explore with each other so this is what the mayor finds important, and what do you find important? What matters to you? And can we exchange these thoughts? And what is important to take into account when we think about the future of this monument? And that first meeting, I also asked, well, who wants to go into these themes and what we find important and come up with some proposals? Because the mayor had also been clear at the beginning, and I advised him to do so. What do you ask from the people? And he asked advice, because he said, I also need to take this, that, and that into account. But I really want your advice. What shall we do with this monument? And there were 15 people from the first meeting who said, okay, I want to explore these advices. What can we advise the mayor? And it turned out that there were 5 different proposals within the group of 15 people. So the mayor got treated on 5 different proposals. And in the last meeting, where we invited everyone again, the whole community was welcome. And these 5 proposals were presented by those who had developed them. And I also asked everyone who was there, well, if you hear these 5 proposals, and you were the mayor, which one would you choose? Well, and there was one proposal that by far got the most hands up. And the mayor was there as well, of course he was there as well, because he needed to be part of the whole process. And so he also had the discussions, the presentations, what people liked about it. And luckily he was and is still a wise man, because he took the advice at heart, and he presented the proposal that was most favorite, to the city council. And the city council was so impressed that they even gave more money to the project than was the idea beforehand. And if you now go to the city of Renen, it's in the Netherlands, you can go to a local museum, which in a beautiful, really beautiful building, because they renovated the monument. And yeah, it's top, really. It's really, really good. And well, we can all be proud of being part of this result and this process. And of course, what made this really good was that the mayor plead for his case, started with only his values, was part of the whole process, didn't shy away, and really made work of it, and said, okay, this is what we're going to do.
I have one quick extra point. How did you manage to get hired by the mayors? How did you manage the process of getting yourself in the position that you get hired by the mayors?
Okay, well, I still love to teach. And next year, I will teach a course for city managers for 20 years. And every year I have a group of about 15 city managers, all from the Netherlands. So they come from the north and the south and the east and the west. And I guide this group and teach them about local leadership, because I want them to plead for something and stand for something. And I teach them about appreciative renewal. So I have an enormous network of city managers. So, and sometimes they hire me because they think, okay, we know what we can do, we know her. So that's my luck, I would say. And this also has got to do with power, because sometimes people also say, well, this Sandra has maybe a little bit too much influence in local government in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So I'm looking at time, Sandra.
Yes, thank you.
And I also, because we were talking about listening to everyone's voices, Shanti put a comment a bit, and I saw also a hand, but it's now disappeared from Paul Leslie. I don't know if you still have a question or if we can move on, Paul.
Well, just very quickly, I was, just as a bit of background, I've worked and lived all over the world in 8 different countries, and I've traveled widely. And of course, nowadays we can see democratic processes in many different countries. So currently I'm living in the United Arab Emirates, which although has basically a ruling family and a monarchy, they consider themselves to be very democratic. And I also lived in the United States, where I discovered that they vote all the time for so many different things. So on the one hand, there's no voting here. At the other extreme, they're voting even for like the local dog catcher, the sheriff, all the way up. And so my question was really about the process, because you had made some comments about this is how we do things here, but it seems to me that we don't spend enough time on the figuring out how we're going to do certain things. And we're so accustomed to doing it in one way that if it doesn't, if that process doesn't work for a new situation, we're trying to sometimes fit, a square peg into a round hole in many cases. And so if you look at, without pointing fingers to many countries, we see a lot of formerly democratic countries vote themselves into fascist dictatorships. And so I'm not sure how that happens, but it speaks to a breakdown in their process. And so I'm always very conscious. I work in teacher training, and so my whole body, my whole mindset is, how are you going to do whatever it is you want to do? I don't look so much at the content of the results of what we want to do. I'm all about how are you going to do it? And so my question was sort of what are your thoughts on that aspect?
Yes. Well, what I earlier called the formal democracy, that are the systems you just pointed out, Paul. So what do we elect? Who do we elect? How is it formally organized? And I don't have much influence on that. So I take my influence there where I have it. And for me, that's local government, because I do like results. I do like that things that are important to people in their daily life, that they can influence that. That's what I like. So therefore, I work at the local level. And therefore, I find it so important that we also see these extra formal democracy in between all the formal election, in between all the formal forms, I would say. And that it's more the dialogue and more the gathering. And it's about real things, and it has real consequences. But that we can do that together. Because I cannot influence I tried when I was young, but I had to see, well, that's too big for me. It's not what I can influence.
Okay.
Perhaps because we have not more than half an hour left, and perhaps it's nice to go into breakout rooms, Alex. But would you like that? Is that a good idea? So that we can all talk among each other. And I noticed that also because of your questions, but also because I like that best, that what I was proud of and what I think will work and what I find important. So I didn't talk much about my worries yet. So perhaps it's a good thing that we talk a little bit about our worries, and also already, well, how can we deal with these worries? So shall we do that for 15 minutes? So the question is, what do you worry most about democracy? and to share that among each other. And the next thing is, well, what gives you hope, taking into account the worry you've got? Is that okay? Am I clear? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm setting up the room.
So we will be thrown in groups by Alex.
Mm-hmm.
So we should have received an invitation. If anyone has trouble joining, maybe put something in the chat or feel free to unmute. And if you're not able to, that's okay as well. I will pause the recording.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So
You're doing
we're all
great.
back.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to hear a few voices, which we didn't hear yet, from the different breakout rooms. And I'm especially interested in what was the biggest worry in your conversation. So maybe someone who didn't say anything until now. A hand, maybe, who wants to say something? Can you raise your hand?
Maybe Cameron can give words to what in our group was. That would be very nice. Thank you.
Yeah,
Cameron.
sure. I jotted down just what I heard from across everybody was that there's a discourse of fear and anger these days. And we shared, essentially seem to be saying that with different words from different perspectives. And we looked to our daily lives and our immediate surroundings for hope, essentially. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you said two things, fear and worries. No, fear and?
Anger.
Anger,
yeah.
fear and anger.
Discourses of fear and anger, yeah.
Yeah, fear and anger. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Another group? Maybe David? Were you in another group, David?
Yeah, well, in group 6, although I joined it late, the most worry that we have was that people are no longer active participants in democracy. And we had a range of two-party systems, like in America, like ourselves here in South Africa. We are going to local elections next year, and already we have more than 600 parties registered. And what has been happening is that people are withdrawn from participation, and only few still go there, and people don't see any value, let me say, in the whole process. Hence, they withdraw from. You see?
Yeah.
So one question I had was the question of your model. I would like to get more of it of appreciative renewal, which is the same as appreciative inquiry, because we miss dialogical relationship. We don't see the leaders elected having a relationship with the electorate and vice versa. Once they are elected, they are there, and then it is us versus them. You see, situation. Yes. And I think they say the system seems to be too simple, and it avoids complexity. I think my other two colleagues can add.
Yes, thank you very much, David. And
so there's also a comment in the chat box, Sandra. It's about just Approve. I don't know if I pronounce it properly, but he or she asked Shanti to summarize a brilliant conversation in the breakout room. So Shanti, can you make it short, seeing the time also? Sorry to say so, but Shanti, where are you?
Yeah, I can see that.
I will try hard.
It's great to hear you.
Of the other speakers, Jean Brasseur, if I pronounce his name correctly, he had a very interesting example to start us off, how 10 monks had to be brought together to listen to each other. And we might think that a very politically simple situation compared to the ones we are addressing. Paul Leslie was describing how the world is more and more becoming polarized into opposing groups. And you have to be very careful about what opinions you express, because you can be out of a group, you can be out of groups, depending on what you say. Apurva Chauhan brought that to the level of life in the teaching community in universities these days. When he was in earlier years, he was used to universities being places where people could listen to opinions, express opinions openly. But more and more, the barriers are closing in. And given these two examples, it made me wonder what changed in the teaching universities and communities and in the political circles that Paul was talking about. We don't want to go back. We want to move forward. But we need to understand what has changed and what needs to be addressed. Sandra, I agree with much of what you said. It's important to identify worries. But your second question about what gives each one of us hope, I'm not sure if that goes far enough. It's not about what makes me feel better. I will feel better when the world around me looks and operates better. I think we have to grapple with the reality around us, complex and difficult as that is. And I'll really stop there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think, seeing the time, Sandra, we are going to close, I think. Do you want to say something before I will close it?
Yes, of course. I want to thank everyone for their contribution. And I thought 1.5 hours, wow, that's a long time, but it was way too short. And what I especially learned from the last remarks about fear and anger and also distrust, and is that, well, we really need, and I really need to be better at addressing these feelings and find a way also, if I cannot imagine these feelings. To give a very small example. So I facilitated a conversation about immigrants. And we were looking for a place where immigrants could stay in a community. And I moderated the conversation between the mayor and citizens. And then one citizen said, yes, but they will walk in front of my house. And I thought, yes, but that was a big fear, and I could not understand it. So that's my task, a task I have to really try to also imagine fears I cannot imagine somehow, but still respond differently than, yes, so what? Because then I don't take someone very seriously. And I think that's really difficult, but that's my task. I just thank you very much for this time. I appreciate it enormously. Thank you.
So thank you, Sandra, for having this great time. I think we could talk for hours about this very important topic, I think. I just put some little notes on my paper, just very shortly. So we were talking about changing your scientific work into action. And I think that's what you really are doing. That's what you are talking today. And what's very hopeful, I think, is that you are looking in your own circle of influence, what might be possible. And then you can be very successful in these days. And you also were talking about, well, it's not always easy. It's really a challenge, but it's possible. That's what you showed today. And it's hard work. I like the word appreciative renewal you were talking about, and that's really inspiring. And the most important thing, I think, the word you were talking about is rebuilding trust in our systems, in our families, in our communities, in our governments, and focusing on this relational aspect of building this trust. So thank you for today, and we will see you again. I think before we close, I need to say two things. The recording of this session will be accessible. Alex will send an email with a link so you can re-listen the recording of this session. And the other thing, also very important, Norma is in the room. October 8th, there will be the next Pulsating Practices. The title is Facilitating Participants in Dialogues in Research. And it's done by Norma and Francis from South Africa. So we invite you for the next Pulsating Practices.
Sorry
Thank you
to
for
quickly
today.
interrupt, Luc. It's not just me and Francis from South Africa. Francis is in Uganda.
It's good that you say this because, well, that's what we are doing. We're helping each other, you know? So it's Norma from South Africa and Francis from Uganda. And it also will be a great session, I'm sure, for this. It's already evening in the Netherlands and perhaps also at your place where you live, or perhaps earlier in the day. So I wish you a nice day or a nice evening and see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks so much.